Hello, hello, hello. Today we have the great honor and privilege of having Miss Iris Veneracion join us on this episode of our podcast to share with us some of her interesting, informative, educational, maybe if we're lucky, some painful things that she's learned in her career of being a real estate investor and house flipper. So welcome, Iris. Thank you for being here.
Hello, Miss Holly. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
We're so excited. I have lots of fun questions for you. So we are just going to dive right in and get started. So why don't you tell us how you got started in real estate investing and what you did in your life before that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My previous life before I was an investor, I used to work in mortgage finance. So I worked for a company called E-Trade, and believe it or not, they did have a mortgage company way back when. And so, yeah, I did mortgage finance. So I kind of knew like the mortgage side of it. And I got interested in real estate because I would do refis, for my clients, and they had all these investment properties. I'm like, oh, there's something here. And I remember at the time, this was back in 2003, I remember at the time I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I know most people have heard of or can relate to. And it literally changed my whole outlook on this whole work thing, and having money work for me and not working for this institution and stuff. And back then I was working so many hours and working so hard, making great money, mind you, but then I realized I wanted to do something and create something for myself. And back in the corporate days, I felt like I had already reached this level, the proverbial glass ceiling. I already had climbed up this corporate ladder. I'm like, I didn't know where else I could go unless I changed industries or did something way different. And so I did this thing. I remember doing a flip, my very first flip. There was someone that I worked with that asked me if I wanted to do a flip. And I'm like, what is a flip? And she's like, this is when you buy a house and you fix it all up and then you resell it and you make a profit. And all I could say was, okay, let's do this. And I remember leaving work at 10 o'clock and finding the Home Depot that was open 24 hours or open till midnight.
Oh my gosh.
So I can bring it to the house so my contractor could work on the house, but it was crazy. So the way I got started was I did this first flip while I was working 16 hour, weeks at corporate E-Trade. And so to make a long story short, it's already long, sorry.
It's great. Keep it going. People want to know this stuff.
We sold that house and made a ton of money, and I was hooked. It was one of those, let's do this again. And shortly after that, within 3 months, I quit my corporate job and decided to go full time. So that was kind of my start in this real estate thing. I kind of went, I went all the way. So I quit my job like that.
Wow, that is really fast. Very inspirational. That shows a huge amount of motivation on your factor. I mean, that you could work these huge amount of hours and then go to Home Depot at 10 o'clock at night. That's super impressive, very driven.
Well, let me just add this, Holly. Okay, so I'm not sharing the story so everyone can go out and just like quit their jobs. I mean, one of the things that I wish if I could have done it over again, I probably would have stayed at my job just a little bit longer. So I could have like stabilized my business, because starting your own business is a whole different animal. When you're in corporate, you sit there and you get mad at corporate policies and why they're doing things. And then when you start your own business, you realize you have to create those policies. And it's a totally, you appreciate some of the things that corporate stuff do, like health insurance, things like that. But, there's the freedom that real estate affords me, and I'm sure you as well, is worth it. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if I could have done it differently, maybe I would have waited a little longer where I knew my business was a little bit more stabilized. So it would have been so scary. And it is possible to do this while you're working a full-time job. The awesome thing is, I got to fire my boss, but if I could do it over again, I probably would have waited just a little bit longer until all my systems, my entities were all set up. I think it would have been easier at the time. But anyway,
great advice, and I agree with that. But that leads me to one more add-on question to what you just said. In your opinion, do you need an entity to do your first flip? Do you have to have
absolutely
like
not.
some kind of an S corp or LLC?
Okay. Okay. So great question. And I get this question actually a lot. And it's funny, it's one of my pet peeves. There's a lot of companies out there that go through the real estate circuit, so to speak, and, you know, preach that you need to protect all your assets and this, that, and the other. And so they convince you or they sell you on, you know, creating all these LLCs, you know, in Nevada or Wyoming or wherever they are, you know, protect your assets. And I usually tell people, don't worry about that until you actually have assets.
Right.
Now, it is an important factor, it's an important thing to have in your business, of course. But when you're first starting out, I think it's more important to get the asset and actually do something and see if you even like it. I know people that start this thing, they're just like, oh, this sucks. I don't know why I actually started this. But anyway, yes, I think entities are important. But when you're first starting out, just work on getting your leads, you know, doing a deal before you start getting into entity structures, because, you know, how I structure my entity and what I do may be different than what you do. So yeah, there's different, and I'm not a CPA, but all I can say is definitely consult a CPA once you have built, you know, 1 or 2 assets, and then you can determine then what's your best entity. So I flip and I also hold. So to answer that question directly, I flip in an LLC, taxed as an S corporation, because my CPA has told me this is, you know, the best structure for me tax-wise, and I hold things in LLCs. So.
Excellent. That's great information. My CPA has advised me on the exact same structure, so it's
good.
It's always great to hear that confirmation. But yeah, that's generally the entity structuring that we hear out there in the lawyer advice world. So awesome. That's super great. Okay, so have you found it, well, first of all, how many years have you been doing this total?
Okay, so I quit my corporate job back in 2003. So what is that?
We're at about 13 years now.
Oh my God.
So
you're having fun, let me tell you.
So have you seen, well, I'll say, what have you seen in the various at various points in the market cycle, and how has that changed your business? And maybe you can speak specifically to your acquisition strategies, if they've changed at all, or maybe they've stayed the same.
Okay. That's kind of a loaded question, Holly. Okay, so here's the thing. When I started, it was 2003, 2004. And if you recall, if you're new to real estate, maybe you don't know this particularly, but if you've been around, you know, 2003, the market was going like this. It was going up and up and up, and people were like in this state of euphoria. You know, people didn't think real estate could go down, and the reality was that you couldn't make a mistake. So I started in that market, even if I bought completely wrong and was still able to fix it up and sell it, you still made a profit. All you had to do was hold it a month. The prices were going up, whether you did a good job or not. And so I kind of started in, for lack of a better word, like this false market. Like, you thought you were so good, but really it was just the market going up. And so all the mistakes that you could possibly make in your buying, you know, were forgiven very quickly. And so what's very interesting that I can say for myself that I lived through was that I experienced this market that just went like this, like this, like this, and was in this, you know, state of euphoria, thinking that nothing was ever going to come down. And then, of course, everybody knows the market crashed. So that was an interesting time, and obviously big lessons to learn. And so at that time, I was flipping, and I also realized that once you sell the asset, once you flip it, you no longer have the asset, right? So you get this big chunk money, which I love, don't get me wrong. But I also realized back then is, you know, part of a lot of reasons why people get into real estate is because they want freedom. And if I sell the asset, then if I sell the property and I no longer have the asset, so I realized I needed to create like a rental portfolio as well to get this passive income thing going on. And so I was using a lot of my capital that I was creating in California And just like everyone else, back in 2005, 2006, I took it out of state into areas I didn't even know, but everybody was buying. So it must be good, right? So just like everyone else, you know, I bought a ton of stuff out of state. So I had stuff in Florida, I had properties, a ton of properties in Atlanta, Ohio, Texas. I was all over the place. Place Indiana, I mean, place New York, I mean, places I didn't even want to go to. The cold part of New York, that is. And so anyway, there was a lot of lessons to learn in the sense that I was thinking about, what was the question again?
How your business has changed over like the last 13 years and your acquisition strategies, but keep going. People want to hear the rest of the story. What happened after you went out of state?
Yeah, so you know, I kind of chunked it when the market fell because I was buying properties wrong because I was in this, you know, the same idea where everything was just going up. And my big lesson on that is that things don't appreciate as much in out-of-state areas. I mean, some places do, as much as California. So I was taking all my California ideals and bringing it out of state, and it just wasn't working. So, you know, I got pummeled in the market. I mean, I'm not proud of that, but I did lose a few properties. I short-sailed a ton of them, but I can happily say now that I brought everything back to California. Now, I know a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends invest out of state and they do just fine. But for me personally, I want to be here in my own backyard in Southern California. So my goal, and you know, the funny thing is that when I first started out, my goals totally changed. Like I wanted 100 houses and I got to like 48 and I'm like, I can't handle this. This is too crazy. So now, you know, as my career kind of progressed, I'm like, I want different things now. There's different things I want to do. So I'd rather own, for example, you know, 20 free and clear homes in California versus 100 doors out of state. I mean, that's just for me personally. And so as far as acquisition strategies and things like that, you know, today maybe I'll do notes out of state, but I don't necessarily want to own any properties out of state. All my acquisitions are based out here in California. And, you know, I'm really careful of seeing or watching like what you know, I listen to Bruce Norris. I kind of, you know, check out all his market timing reports, and there's nothing that beats actually being in the market. Like people can say things about different areas, you know, the National Association of Realtors can give all these predictions, but the reality is every place, there's like a micro economy in every city, in every, you know, county that you work in. So for me, I know when things are changing because I feel it, because I'm in it. Like if I put a property on the market this week and I get no offers, I'm like, oh, you know, with what's going on? Because maybe a month ago we put it on the market and boom, there was like a ton of offers, you know, within 3 days. And so I'm always really conscious of like what's going on in my local micro markets as well. But at the same time, I'm looking at things like, you know, what's going on with mortgages, affordability, all this other stuff. And yeah, so my acquisitions, again, I don't know if I answered the question. You know, I like to stay in California. I like to flip in California. Right now, we have rentals that are like in San Bernardino, Riverside County, and we're 1031 exchanging them all to Orange County, very close to where I live.
Really? Yeah. So San Bernardino is even too far for you, huh?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Too far, because I'll tell you what, you know, having rentals very closer is so much more convenient. So
yes, it is. That's for sure. And Orange County is a nice place to call home.
Yeah.
So, that's for sure.
Okay.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was going to say, you know, it's great that I can say that, you know, I have rentals in Orange County, and, you know, for someone maybe who's newer that's listening to this, you know, they're like, how do I buy a rental in Orange County? Because, you know, Orange County is a little pricier, right? And certainly you can cash flow better in areas like San Bernardino or Riverside or Inland Empire, right? Or Bakersfield even, you know, still be in California and cash flow in different areas. And, you know, what I want to say about that is, yes, that's true. And sometimes you have to start in those areas. And, you know, I'm working towards my end goal where I'm actually, like I mentioned earlier, you know, 1031ing them in Orange County. So I just want to say something, because, you know, I may say that and people are just like, how do you buy a cash flowing rental in Orange County? But, you know, there was a couple steps before that I had to do, because again, I acknowledge that not everything in Orange County is necessarily cheap, you know, but so you have to take a few steps to get there.
Right, very good. And just for the benefit of somebody that might not be familiar with the term 1031, you want to explain what that is?
No, I think you're better qualified to explain that.
Well, okay. So 1031 refers to the Internal Revenue Code section that allows real estate holders to do a tax-free exchange. I am no longer a practicing CPA and will not advise on that, but that is the gist of it. So yes, you can do research online if you're interested to know more about 1031 exchanges. So in your business today, how are you finding your deals? Your flipping business, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So, going back to your question about market and acquisitions and stuff like that, we do something called the 60-day challenge, and it's a educational hands-on program. And the reason why I bring that up is because, your acquisition strategies definitely change as the market changes. So, back 3-4 years ago, everything was MLS. Everything was short sales and REOs. Everything was about creating relationships with agents and getting your offer in, because everyone was putting cash offers on these things. So your relationships, were very, very important. Now, relationships are still critically important in every market, no matter what your acquisitions are. So relationships are important, but I'm finding that in this market today, I took an assessment of all the properties, let's say we closed in 2015, and most of them were referral business. I only acquired 3 properties last year off the MLS, which is surprising to me. Most of them were either bought from wholesalers or referrals or from a mailer. So that's the other big thing. And like, for example, the wholesalers were getting their deals through mailers. So I see a big trend right now where marketing is really, really critical. Marketing direct to sellers and getting deals that way. So did I answer the question?
Yes. So you're just saying that you get them from wholesalers, your own mailers, and
referrals
from the MLS.
And I still put offers on the MLS through agents, especially agents that I've worked with in the past that know what I'm looking for. Offers still go in, but surprisingly, like I said, a lot of our deals are coming direct from wholesalers, from mailers, and referrals. So
awesome. And a mailer, just for people that don't know what that is usually a postcard, right?
Yeah. Can you see me? Hold on. I lost you there. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so a mailer is just typically a postcard. That's probably what you send, saying we pay cash for houses, something like that.
It can be our mailers consist of postcards as well as yellow letters. Now, people who aren't aware of yellow letters, it can be something as simple as a yellow pad of paper where you just write, "I'm interested in buying your house. Please contact me," and a number. Sometimes, or a lot of times, simple is better. But, as far as mailers are concerned, I think you just need to do something that's according to your personality and style. You can handwrite the letter. You can hire a company like Yellow Letters Complete. There's a ton of them. You just have to Google them, and they'll do that service for you. Or if you have a niece or nephew, or your mom that's interested in making some extra money, I think it's a great way. And so the critical part of that is getting a list. And I can just tell you this: anyone can get a list, especially for free. For example, from a title company, you just got to ask, what area you want to be in. And, a common list is like an absentee owner, someone who doesn't live in the property that you're marketing to, for example. And your title companies can pull that for you for free. Or if you want to get a little more complicated and, really hone down on a specific list, all these companies that you can Google, like Yellow Letters Complete, yellowletters.com, there's a ton of them, like I said, are also list source providers and stuff like that. So you can actually get very specific in your criteria and pull a list, and they'll even mail that stuff for you. Now, with that being said, you've got to have a marketing budget. So I think marketing is, a critical part in anyone's business. So it doesn't matter what business you're in. So it's just part of your marketing. And again, I'm finding that deals in this market are coming a lot from direct to sellers. So if you're not marketing right now, maybe you should give it a go. Now, Holly, I have to ask you. You are awesome at relationships. What's the majority of your deals coming from right now?
Mine are still from relationships. We haven't bought anything really in the last probably 6 months. So as we've been selling through, we bought a whole lot of inventory a year ago, and we've just been finishing selling through all that. But everything we got last year was agent relationships or wholesalers. I have yet to do that direct marketing. I have not done mailers yet, but I think my time is coming this year. So,
well, here's the thing. You don't per se have to do the mailer. You just need to know wholesalers that do mailers, because that's part of the value they bring, right? They're actually putting, spending their marketing budgets to get their deals under contract, and it saves you from. Well, if you didn't want to do a mailer yourself, you just got to learn or meet wholesalers that are doing mailers, because they're getting the deals.
Right. Well, and that leads me to another discussion point that we can talk about is there's a lot of components of this business, from marketing and acquisition to somebody actually fixing up the house, somebody staging the house, somebody then marketing the house. And you can do all of that yourself. I've heard of people doing the labor themselves on a flip. I know you and I do not do that. But twin nails. But why don't you talk a little bit about what you do yourself and what you outsource or have team members that do for your business?
Okay, great question. Well, let me just start by saying this. As a business owner, one of the hardest things that I had to learn to do was to delegate, because you create whatever these systems in your head and stuff like that. And at one point it does get overwhelming, especially if you are doing more business, of course. And again, one of the hardest things I had to learn was to learn how to delegate, because in my mind, I was the person that could do it the best, and there was no one that could do it like me, yada, yada, yada. And once I was able to let go of certain things and get people to, or have people that worked for me that were very competent and intelligent, and in some cases smarter than me, I realized that my business could grow a lot faster. And some of the things that I actually delegated, they figured out how to do even better. So you just have to be able to let that go as a business owner, because I think for me, in my business, it helped us grow tremendously. So some of the things that I do and some of the things that I delegate. So, what I also figured out is there are some things that I really like to do, and there are some things that I absolutely despise. And so the things that you don't like to do, hand it off to someone else. Now, I'm a total people person, so I like dealing with people. I love talking to contractors, negotiating, the best deal, and in some ways providing for them, right? Because in this business, everybody gets to make money. So I like dealing with the contractors, and half the time I really shouldn't be, but I actually like dealing with people. And at the same time, I hate dealing with the contractors. It's like this double-edged sword, because when you have a whole bunch of people working a job, they're like little babies, and you got to babysit them. And sometimes I'm just enough. But the things I do love is designing. I love looking at a space. And even though I'm not an architect or interior designer, but I'll look at a space and just be like, oh, we can do this, or this is what we can create. And so the next step is finding someone who can fulfill that vision for me. So I'm really into looking at the houses and redesigning them so it's now in its best and proper use for this day and age. So that is the part of the business that I really love, that transformation, that thing, where everyone has a TV show on where they get to see the before and after. So I really dig that part. And again, I'm really, I'm such a people person that I do love dealing with the different, to me, what I find challenging is, getting the timelines together and making sure that everyone works in their space so it gets done in I guess the most efficient timeline possible. So those to me are the challenges. So when I take on a project, I do the design, I do the timeline, and then I figure out who my contractors are, and then that's it. I come, check out the property, little progress checks, then I'm at the end, then I get to have a party in the house. So that's like my favorite thing.
Oh, yes.
You know, and then the other things that I don't like is, you know, the bookkeeping. That was a big thing that I had to delegate. And part of it was because I didn't really understand QuickBooks for a while. And I always like had in my mind that I needed to understand this before I could hand it off. But the reality is, or if you have a good bookkeeper, they can explain a lot of things to you. And the bookkeeping was just, you know, when you're doing a flip, there's just tons of receipts involved. And if you're not like, you know, recording this, and you're going to forget, you're just going to forget. And if you have multiple properties going on, I mean, it's critical things. So the bookkeeping, I have a bookkeeper that comes in, you know, every week to make sure that our books are up to date and I know what's going on in each of the properties. And then of course, you know, I'm not an agent, my partner is an agent. So the selling part of it, when we list it, you know, that's something I totally hand off because, you know, I'm not good at it. I mean, she's way better and she has her license. So that's, you know, that's how it works in our partnership. So again, you know, little tiny things, I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but those are like the major things that I delegate and things that I take on myself.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. So we're just down to our last few minutes, so I'm going to use my favorite questions. So how has being a woman been for you in this business? Has it been an advantage, a disadvantage? Do you have any stories about that?
Being a woman in this business, okay. I remember when I first started out dealing with a seller that that was just, for lack of a better word, an ass. Really mean on the phone, and like I immediately realized that he was kind of a misogynistic guy. And the thing is instead of being offended and just letting the lead go, I mean, you have to. There's going to be people like this no matter what. And I realized, you know, we got a decent deal here. So all I did was hand it off to one of my guy partners. I'm like, you deal with this guy because obviously he doesn't think whatever that I'm, you know, good enough to deal with. And we closed that deal. So, you know, sometimes you can't take it personally. You just gotta, you know, kind of go with it. And the opposite has happened where, you know, the guys are like this, they're clashing, and then they send me in, they're like, you know, butter it up and close the deal. So is there an advantage or disadvantage necessarily? I can't really say. I think women, you know, have different approaches, and you know, I think we're really great listeners. Not that guys can't be, but I think we're more really in tune to people's like emotions and feelings, and I think we're really good at like honing in and listening to what their needs really are. And I'm not saying guys aren't equally as good. You know, the best closers are very good at this. But I think, you know, as women, we're a little more empathetic and stuff like that, or we can be. And so I think that does help in this industry, especially when it comes to negotiating. And I mean, in any aspect, when it's like a contractor or another agent, or, you know, most importantly, when you're direct with seller. So is it necessarily an advantage? I don't know. I just like being a woman, and I love working with women, and I love seeing women succeed. So, but the reality is that we're in a world where, you know, you have to work with men, and men are great, and, you know, you have to work with someone. And so I can't, I don't know what my opinion is on this. You know, I don't think it's one great or bad in any direction. I just think it's awesome to be a woman in this industry and be able to succeed and see so many other women, you know, blaze a path for themselves in this industry. So that's what I'm most happy about.
Well, awesome. And I know you are a huge inspiration to me and many other women and men with all of your success and your ability and willingness to share your experiences, because you love when other people make money too. I mean, you're just a kind and generous person with your time and your knowledge. So that's great. So tell me, we're going to have 2 more questions. What is it that you love most about the business, which maybe it was the design aspect, or maybe there's something else you want to share? And then what are your goals for 2016?
Okay. So actually, you know, people ask me why I do this business, and maybe this is going to sound selfish, but the reality is I do it for the money. I love making money. I love spending money. Maybe that's really the case. But speaking of money, you know, what I do love about this business is that so many people, I mean, I just realized, I know we've talked about this before, Holly, but, you know, just having this business that we run, so many people, it's like we take care of so many people, not directly, but everyone, you know, every time I do a transaction, it's amazing. Electricians get paid, title people get paid, escrow companies get paid, appraisers get paid, agents get paid, you know, everyone makes money. And I think, you know, I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be able to, you know, do a transaction and know that, you know, people are going to eat, people are going to be able to afford homes and things like that. And I think it's, you know, I think it's an intrinsic benefit that we, you know, we help the economy run, which is awesome.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I love this business because so many people can get paid. Wholesalers get paid. I mean, just, yeah, it just goes down the line, which is really awesome. So when I make money, I'm happy, and knowing deep down inside everyone else made money as well is really cool to me. And the second question was what again? What's short-term memory today?
That's okay. What are your goals for 2016? Are you going to keep flipping? Is it going?
Yes. Okay. So the short answer is yes, I'm going as hard as I can through the end of 2016. This is an election year, and I mean, I don't know what's going to happen after the new president, whoever that he or she may be. So, you know, again, I might have to reassess everything by the end of the year. But right now, you know, in my local markets, you know, I flip in Orange County and Los Angeles and some in San Bernardino County as well. But for us, you know, the market has been really good. So I want to go as hard as I can and take as many deals as I possibly can. And then come at the end of 2016, I'm probably going to reassess everything. Now, for my personal strategy, I don't want to be in a higher price point right now because, again, I'm kind of a little sketch about what's happening. But in my local markets, everything's been selling really well and everything's been strong. So that's what I can say about the markets I'm working. But for me personally, I don't want to go into like $1 million price point right now. I want to kind of keep it under 700 or less. And a lot of our deals are, you know, sitting around the, you know, $300,000 to $500,000 mark. And I'm finding that that's kind of the sweet spot where everything is going fast. And so I'm kind of, yeah. So that's where I am for 2016. And then again, you know, we are doing a lot of strategic moves in this year. We started last year and in this year. So hopefully in 2017, if I need to, we're just going to take a break. Nice. And, you know, just sit on our rentals and enjoy life, you know, enjoy the other part of why we do this business, right? So
awesome. I love it. Well, you have been so fun and so open with your information. My audience, as well as me, really appreciate that. And I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about your fabulous real estate club, which is how I came to know about you.
Oh, awesome.
And tell people about that so people in Southern California can come to it, and, you know, your contact info and the website for the club and all of that.
Cool. Okay, I'll do it real quick. So my last piece of advice I'm going to share is, you know, there's so much information online, you know, like Holly's podcast, you know, there's a ton of information that you can learn a lot of things for free. But at the same time, if you're going to do this business, you need to surround yourself with real people that actually do the business and get yourself educated. Now, I totally recommend going to real estate clubs, not because I run one, but because that's the way I learned as well. And so we have a real estate club. It's awesome. It's called Invest Club for Women. Everybody is welcome. The men can come too. The men dig us, and we dig the guys that come. So, you know, don't be afraid. Just because it says women, if that's stopping you from coming, then you're silly. But anyway, just come. It's we have meetings on the third Tuesday and the third Wednesday of every month. The third Tuesday we're in LA, and the third Wednesday we are in Orange County. Our meetings are from 6:30 to 9:30. Just go to our website. It's investclubforwomen.com. Investclubforwomen.com. All my contact info is there. So if you want to reach out, you can certainly do that, or you can, I guess, find me on Facebook, Iris Veneracion, or, you know, join our fan page, Invest Club for Women. Okay. Oh my God, it's been so great hanging out with you, Holly. This was so much fun.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll for sure put your contact info and the website in our show notes. So if you're listening and you don't have a pen to write it down, just go to our show notes and you can find it there. So
Awesome.
thank you so much. And I'd love to have you on in a future show and hear about what's due with you. Thanks, Iris.
Okay, cool deal. Thank you, Holly. Thanks for having me. Bye,
Sure.
Podcast Nation.
Hey there, thanks for watching the video. Make sure you like it and click subscribe to get notified of more videos. And you can go to hardhatholly.com for a free download on secrets to finding great deals.